going to share a few notes about this quad. I built this when I was going to buy it, but the HD version was sold out everywhere, and I had just bought the version 1 DJI goggles. I came from the Mavic world, so I just was never a big fan of the analog, the breakup. It really freaked me out, and it caused me to crash a lot. Even though I probably shouldn't have crashed, it just freaked me out and I crashed. So I was waiting for the HD version and it wasn't available, so I just bought the frame. I already had a Caddx Vista with a nebula, and I started watching some videos and saw a video from Kebab FPV that said use the 1204 motors and a few other things, but for the most part it's stock. I bought the stock motors, the stock flight controller. I put 1204 motors on it. I bought the stock propellers. I ended up breaking the propellers somehow. I only had 4. And when I went to replace them, they didn't have any. And I thought, you know what? I want to try to get a little more flight time out of this. So I bought these 2512s. 2525 was the stock. I bought 2512s. And immediately I seen that it flew a lot smoother. It didn't have as much thrust or speed, but it was more cinematic. And like I said, coming from the Mavic world, I'm kind of a cinematic flyer. This was a challenging build for me because I can't see very good. So I had to buy these magnifiers from Amazon. They were like 13 bucks. I'll put a link in the description. And the solder pads were very, very close together and very, very tiny. Smallest build I'd ever done. And I built like 9 quads last winter. So for me, this build was so fiddly, and it just was difficult trying to cram 5 pounds of shit in a 2-pound bag. The Caddx Nano camera is subpar for sharing. It's good for FPV. It's pretty good for flying. It's better than analog as far as I can tell. Unless you had a great analog system. To me, it's better. I'm not worried about latency because I'm not a acro basher and I'm not flying through bandos. I wanted something better. I put the Nebula Pro on it. And what I did was I bought the Baby Hawk hardware kit for the camera mount, and it fit right on there. The only thing was the Nebula camera, the diameter was a little too much. So I took a soldering iron and kind of wallowed out the TPU a little bit, and it fits in there really snug. I got a video about that. I would recommend to get these magnifiers. They really help. You need a very small tip for your soldering iron. This is a great quad for just about anything that you want to do. And with the DJI system, your signal will outrun your battery. At the end of this flight, actually, I lost everything with the Vista because the 5-volt wire had, I guess, vibrated itself, and the wire actually broke right there at the solder connection on the Vista. So because of that, I got lucky. I was over that trail and not over those railroad tracks on that trestle. I do recommend squeezing a beeper in somewhere and making sure your RX lost is set in Betaflight. This is a little bitty drone, and it'd be very difficult to find if you landed in some high grass or crashed it somewhere, you know, out in, even in not very high grass. And colorful props and, you know, different color tapes for the motor wires, yellow and greens and blues, things that do not really fit it can help. Reds, oranges. But definitely I'm gonna put a beeper on this thing. I don't have much room, but I'm gonna put a beeper on it because what happened to me in this flight was kind of scary. I don't want to lose this thing. I probably got well over $200 tied up in this, and I built it myself, and I really enjoy flying it. It's a lot of fun. I take it, I leave it in my car all the time. I put a lot of miles on this thing, so something was bound to go wrong. That's the first thing to go wrong, but it was an easy fix. Had I been over that tall grass or those railroad tracks, I would have lost this drone. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing information, one FPV person to the next. And if you plan on building this, good luck to you. And it's, like I say, it's not complicated. It's just very tiny. So get those magnifiers.